Hey guys, it's Jenny, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is both reading for kids in the summer and also reading with your kids in the summer. For us, we are about the third week of summer break here in our house, and if you didn't know this already, I have two boys. I have one that is 10 years old going into the fifth grade, and I have one that is 11, about to be 12, going into the seventh grade. And so for us, reading in the summer has kind of always been a struggle ever since the beginning. But I've kind of come up with some tips and strategies that make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more enticing, and I thought I would share this with you guys. Now, I know as parents, I don't have to stress with you the importance of reading in the summer. I know your teachers have talked about it. The media has talked about it. Everyone's talking about it. You know, if a kid can read, a kid is able to do better in math and all of his studies and everything like that. But sometimes, as even we know as adults, reading isn't that fun sometimes. And so I just thought I would give you some tips that kind of make it a little bit more interesting, have a little bit more pizzazz to reading. Um, One of the things that you can do with your kids, and these are tips that I'm sure you've heard over and over again, and that is setting reading goals. You know, have a set number of books that they read in the summer, have a set number of time that they read during the summer, things like that. A couple ways that you can do this is have a time, you know, for me, I have older kids, so they're reading chapter books, they're reading the bigger books, things that are a little bit harder to finish throughout the summer. If you have younger kids, you know, you can set a book a day. If those little books are only, 20, 30 pages long, you can set a book a day, or you can set a book a week, however much you feel. And guys, these are things that you can do, whether you're a working parent and your kids are at daycare or at camp all day, if you're a stay-at-home mom and your kids are with you all the time, reading is something you can do no matter what your time schedule is. So like I said, set a limit each day. For my kids, they have to read an hour a day. Now they can read an hour altogether. They can read 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, however they want to do it, but they have to read an hour a day. And if I notice that some time has been going by where they haven't been reading or where they've been getting distracted, I will stop and say, okay, this is reading time, and set a timer, because it is important for them to get that in. Now, you don't want to be the parent who says you have to read, and then not make it any fun. So a couple ways that we have made it fun in this house is I actually have a reward system set up for them. For every book that they finish, they get some type of reward. Sometimes it's just as simple as getting to go to the movies that weekend. Sometimes it's getting to go to Half Price Books and pick out another book. Um, have a spending limit of $5. At Half Price Books or something like that, you can get two, maybe even three books for $5. It's not that difficult to do. Another thing that I found, and I found this on there, I will link it down below, is I actually found a summer reading bingo game where they have to mark off. You set the time limit, so say set 30 minutes a day, or for us, an hour a day, and there's different things they have to do. They have to read in their room for an hour. They have to read on a Monday, on a Tuesday, etc. They have to read while eating a snack. Then there's even some fun ones where it's read in the bathtub, or read outside, or read underneath a tree, things like that. And each time they do one of those, they get a bingo mark. When they create a bingo, whether it's up or across or diagonal, they get a ticket for a reward. If they get a full card, they get what's called the golden ticket. And that's your big prize. That's, getting to go to a water park, getting to, have friends spend the night. Whatever you set for those goals, that's what they get. It's a little bit something that kind of makes them want to read that 30 minutes a day, hour a day, however long you set. Um, the other thing you could do is there's several challenges out there. Kids are always prize motivated. So, you can set, I know local libraries always have a summer reading challenge, and normally it's set based on their age limit. So for the little ones, it could be reading so many books. For the older ones, it's reading so many hours or so many minutes. And you go to your local library, you sign up with them, and you keep a track of how long it is, and you have to sign off on that. And they take it back to their library, and their library gives them prizes based on how far in the goal they are. Um, Now, another thing that you can do if you have kids that are really struggling, that are maybe not as high of reading level, or just really struggle with those words. So, there's certain things like dyslexia, or they have other, learning impediments where it's hard for them to read. You can always read with them. Now, I know for working parents that seems like it's kind of hard, but right before bed, you go back to the age-old thing of when they were, little, reading at bedtime. We still do that in our house. We still read, we pick out a book together and we read a chapter a day. And for, at the end of this video, I will give suggestions on books, but on things like that, that is when you can pull out those harder level books, those things that, both you and the child are interested in. You don't want to be reading a book every night, the chapter a day or an hour a day, where you're not interested in the story. So this is where you can pick out those harder level books that your child may not be able to read on their own, but you can read to them. And that also counts as reading. The child's getting this time in, they're getting their learning, and they're getting the vocabulary. All those benefits still happen if you read to them. The other thing you can do is change up the setting, even if whether they're reading it or whether you're reading to them. Just like in the bingo game, if you take them outside and maybe read on the trampoline, or maybe bring a picnic blanket out, bring some snacks, and just read in your backyard. It kind of changes it up. It's not so rigid of sitting on the couch or sitting on the bed and this is what we're going to do. It kind of makes it a little bit more fun. We've done things where we've even taken books to the zoo before, and while we're eating lunch, we pull out the book and we read a little bit of it just while we're eating. You don't have to limit it to just your house. And you can also do tie-ins with that. If you have a book that primarily takes place outside or takes place, at a zoo or something, you can bring that book along and it ties it all in. It makes it a little bit more interesting to the child. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is reading time. Now, I do have some recommendations. Like I said, a lot of these are, oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. Going back to the challenges, another thing that you can do besides just the library challenges there's some challenges online. I mentioned half-price books, and if you have one of those in your area, they have a wonderful, wonderful program. Half-price books, if you actually just go onto their website, you can download and print out the form, but you monitor how many minutes they've read each day. And once they hit a certain goal, I believe I want to say it's 300 minutes a month. That's for both June and July. They don't do it in August. You bring that certificate in to the local half-price books, and they give the child a $5 gift certificate. At each store, they have age groups, and the person who gets the highest amount of reading minutes in each of those age groups gets a different prize. I don't exactly remember what the prize is, but I think it's a bigger gift card. It may even be as far up to $25 gift card. It may be more than that. I don't know. You'll have to check with your half-price books. But I know that's something that entices them, And half-price books doesn't just have books. They have videos, they have video games, they have all kinds of things. So if you can get your child to read and entice them with that $5 to half-price books, it may make them want to actually hit the goal. The other thing that is a really fun one that my children have done for, I think, 3 years now is Scholastic.com actually has a summer reading challenge. And all these challenges I will link down below. I will link the half-price books one. I will also link the Scholastic one. With the Scholastic one, you go in each day and you log your reading minutes. And each week there's a goal. I think this week it was 115 minutes, which is just less of 2 hours for the whole week. And once you've hit that goal, you get to spin a wheel and you get to click and receive a badge, and you get to collect those badges over the summer. Now, the other thing that you also get for prizes is you get to get activities that you can print off and do. You get advanced reader chapters of books that are coming out. Last summer we got advanced chapters of the Captain Underpants book that was coming out, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book that was coming out, things like that. You also get entered into win drawings such as a box set of the Harry Potter books, movie deals, things like that. Each week there's a different prize, and it's really enticing for the kids to be able to do that. And once you're logged into the Summer Reading Challenge, Scholastic has a whole website specifically dedicated to kids and reading. And there's forums on there where they can chat with other kids. It's completely safe and anonymous. You don't have to worry about anything like that. There's games and activities they can do based on their books. There's a whole section for Harry Potter where they can explore the challenge, explore the houses, things like that. And speaking of Harry Potter, there's also Pottermore.com. If you haven't heard about that, that is actually J.K. Rowling's website for Harry Potter. And you kind of go on a journey and have to do these activities chapter by chapter, book by book. And so as your kids are reading, if Harry Potter is a book that you decide for your kids to read, they can read it chapter by chapter and be able to do activities based on what they've just read. So speaking of this, I have some recommendations for you. I have some that I can show you and also some that I'll tell you. One fun thing that you can do if you're looking for recommendations is actually look at movies. A lot of kids' movies are based on books that they can read first. And so things like movies like The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, those are definitely books before they're movies. So if you have them read the book, then they can watch the movie. Movies like Charlotte's Web, Because of Winn-Dixie and The Bridge to Terabithia. My kids loved those. They were adventure movies. They were fun and enticing, and they had to read the book before they could watch the movie. So you have them start a book on Sunday, read it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and have Friday be a movie day for your family. You sit down and watch it as the reward for reading that book. Some other, recommendations that I have here are, these are all from Scholastic. I'm not sponsored by Scholastic in any way, shape, or form. I just happened to pick these up at my kids' book fair. But there's books out such as Rick Riordan. Any of his books are really good to read in the summer. There's the Percy Jackson series, which is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. And again, that one has a movie, so you can do the tie-in. Hunger Games, also, I don't have that here, but that one has a movie too. This one just happens to be The Lost Hero and the Heroes of Olympus. This is what my oldest son is going to try to read this summer. And so any of his books are always good. On that same trend of, I just dropped that, being really popular, you have the one that I've already talked about, which is, any of the Harry Potter books. Obviously, you start with the first one. It's not that big. It can be for any reading level. You can read it to them, anything like that. I highly, highly recommend Harry Potter and Percy Jackson for any kids that really don't like reading. My philosophy has always been, if you think you don't like reading, you just haven't found the right book. And for a lot of kids, these fantastical books of Harry Potter and the Wizarding World and Percy Jackson and the, Olympus, Heroes of Olympus and the Greek gods and goddesses, all that kind of fantasy thing really entices kids and makes them want to read more. If you have kids that like to watch Glee, Chris Colfer, who plays Kurt Hummel, has an amazing book called The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell. This is actually the first in a series. He's going to have more books. I know the second one is coming out soon, if it's not already out. This one talks about fairy tales, talks about, kids going into a world of fairy tales. We're actually in the middle of reading this together this summer. So, again, this has that fantasy aspect of Cinderella and Snow White and the Evil Queen and all those things that they're used to hearing, just kind of gives a different spin on it. So it's kind of an older take of the fairy tales that they used to read when they were little. So that might be a good one. A couple other ones that aren't really heard about. This one's not by Scholastic. This one's actually by Little Brown and Company, and it's called, the name of this book is Secret. This one is very mysterious. It doesn't really say much about it. The back, even synopsis of it is backwards. So, even I can't really tell you too much about this. So maybe this one would be a fun one for your kids that, has that mystery aspect to it. This one is The Mysterious Benedict Society. I'm actually about halfway through reading this myself. And this is about a couple kids who are a little higher level in their IQ, and they get kind of recruited into this special elite group of kids, and they go on all these mysteries and all these, fun adventures and things. So this is another one. And you will notice that I'm picking a lot of big books, and that is because when you're reading in the summer, you don't really need to worry about how many books you're reading. This is the time for the kids to be able to pull out those books that are just fun for them. They don't have to worry about doing AR tests or book reports or anything like that on them. They're just fun. And so if you only finish one big book that summer and you really worked on it, you still read that summer. It's still a goal. It's still important for them to do this. If you guys have any other questions, you can always leave them down in the comments, Or if you have any suggestions, you can leave those too. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'm always looking for new ways to get my kids into reading. All my social media links will be down below. You can feel free to contact me on any of those. And like I said in my last video, if there's something that you'd like to see or something that I can help you with or I can do a video on, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. All right, have a good day.